Hey, welcome. So you're ready to finally get a handle on the whole world of cryptocurrency? Well, you've come to the right place. We're going to start right from the beginning in this explainer, breaking down what it is, where it came from, and why this technology is, really starting to change things.
Look, if you've heard the word cryptocurrency and your brain just kind of goes fuzzy, or maybe it even seems a little intimidating, don't worry. That's a totally normal reaction. It's a brand new, kind of complex space, but we are going to demystify it together, one simple step at a time.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. And we'll start with something you've probably already noticed, the incredible, non-stop buzz around crypto. I'm almost certain you've seen it somewhere.
I mean, it really feels like it's everywhere, right? It's almost impossible to get away from. You've probably seen it flashing in news headlines, popping up in your social media feed from friends, or even big-name celebrities. Or maybe you saw a viral meme about it and just kind of nodded along. This constant exposure is exactly why it's so important to get the basics down.
And with all that noise, it's really no surprise that this whole topic can feel just as confusing as it is exciting. But our whole goal here is to cut right through that confusion and give you a really clear, solid foundation to build on. So, the best place to start is with the word itself. Let's actually decode what cryptocurrency means. I think you'll see it's a lot more straightforward than it sounds. At its absolute core, a cryptocurrency is just a new type of digital asset. So what does that even mean? Well, try to think of it less like the money you see in your online bank account and more like a piece of digital property that you own directly. No bank needed. It can definitely act like money, sure, but it can also be like a key that gets you into a specific online service or even represent your ownership in a project. The name itself actually tells you a lot. Let's break this down. The crypto part, that comes from an old Greek word kryptos, which means hidden. And that points directly to cryptography, this super secure, complex computer code that protects every single transaction. And then you've got currency, which is, well, it's exactly what it sounds like, a system for money. So it's not really hidden money, it's more like mathematically secured money.
And this is a really, really important point. You absolutely do not need to understand all the complicated computer code to use cryptocurrency. I mean, think about it. You don't need to be an electrical engineer to flip on a light switch, right? Same idea here. You don't need to be a coder to get the big picture.
Now, to see how all this came to be, we've got to talk about the origin story. And you just can't talk about cryptocurrency without starting with the one that kicked this whole thing off, Bitcoin.
To really understand the why behind crypto, you have to picture the year 2008. The world was right in the middle of a huge financial crisis. Trust in the traditional banking system was at rock bottom. And it's right in the middle of all that chaos that an anonymous person, or maybe a group of people, released Bitcoin. It was the very first decentralized digital currency. Just a radical idea that completely changed the conversation about money forever.
And this quote just perfectly captures how it was introduced. It wasn't just sold as a new way to send money over the internet. It was also framed as an investment. That analogy, digital gold, is one you're going to hear a lot. It really helps you think of it as something that could hold its value over time, but in a purely digital form. Now, while Bitcoin really burst onto the scene in 2008, the ideas behind it weren't totally new. In fact, the word cryptocurrency first popped up way back in the 1980s, but only in these tiny, niche technical groups. It was really Bitcoin's massive, explosive success that dragged the idea into the mainstream and lit the fuse for the thousands and thousands of other digital assets that we see today.
So Bitcoin did a lot more than just create a new asset. It started a revolution. It basically kicked off what you could call a digital domino effect, sparking this huge wave of innovation that, honestly, is still picking up speed today.
So how did we get from just one coin to this massive industry? Well, it's a pretty clear chain of events. First, Bitcoin just proved the concept. It showed that secure, digital money could actually work without a bank or a government in charge. Then, its success inspired innovators all over the world. This led to thousands of new tokens, a lot of them with very specific jobs to do. And that, ultimately, gave birth to entirely new digital economies built on this core technology.
All right, let's bring it all together and quickly go over the most important takeaways from this first lesson. Think of this as your foundation for everything else we're going to talk about.
So, let's do a quick recap. First, at its heart, cryptocurrency is just a new kind of digital asset that you own yourself. Simple. Second, that crypto part of the name is all about the secure code that works like its digital lock and key.
We also learned that Bitcoin was the trailblazer, launched way back in 2008, and its success was the spark that lit the fire for the whole industry that came after it.
And that pretty much brings us to the end of our intro. We've covered what cryptocurrency is, where that strange name comes from, and how it all started with Bitcoin. Which leaves us with a really interesting question to chew on. Bitcoin was the first, but in a world of constant digital change, what do you think will be the last?